Welcome back to The Truth with Trinity, and I am your host, Trinity. And if this is your first time tuning into the podcast, I'd like to send you a warm welcome. Here I talk about issues that happen within the Black community, hopefully for some resolution or at least some food for thought to go about your daily way. So, without further ado, I'd like to jump into this episode's topic, which is, do we as Black people put too much pressure on the school system and teachers in the wrong way? So, I want to start off with saying that we often talk about the school systems throughout the inner cities across America, especially when it comes to, our African American children. We talk about the poor curriculums. We talk about the unsafe environments for our children. We talk about schoolyard violence, bullying, and failing grades. And many times we point the finger at the school instead of ourselves as parents. Like, for example, I wanted to bring out some points that the first teacher of a child is its mother and father. So basically, when the child is at home, 2 and 3 years of age, even throughout their academic career, advancing to the 12th grade, they're supposed to be prepared when they go to school. So it's not the teacher's job to make them prepared. The teacher is the facilitator of the education. Okay, so they, provide the space and the place, and they go over the problems and language arts and all the different type of subjects that the child must learn. But the child's first um, the child shouldn't just see the information for the first time in the classroom. Okay, so it shouldn't be foreign to them. This should be something that they should already know coming into the classroom. Okay, and teachers are not responsible for teaching children how to have self control or home training. Okay, because, you know, the way we raise our children and the environment that they're raised in, when they go to school, they enact out on other children, and our children are paying for the price. Some Black families may teach their children home etiquette, but then there's other children that have troubled backgrounds, and they come, children have a tendency to act out, what they see at home. As parents and as grown-ups, we put that smile on our face, but children, they definitely act out what they see. And a lot of us, in our communities, we complain that they will try to quickly administer medication or a recommendation for psychiatric treatment, when a half of that, more than half of that, can be cut down if at home we're teaching our children how to act. At home, we're teaching our children what not to do, so that the authorities and police officers don't have to reprimand our children, because we're reprimanding our children the way we're supposed to. Okay, because the teacher is not the child's parent. Okay, it's not. We are our own children's parents, and we need to keep be mindful of that when we're complaining, about the school system. Okay, the parent must possess these traits themselves to set the proper example to their children. So, however you're acting in the home, your children, of course, naturally pick up, your tendencies and, the way that you act. And, like they say, your children are a direct reflection of you. So, the child is a direct reflection of its parents. So, if the child is out abroad, in the streets, at school, in public, acting up, cutting up, it's a direct reflection of the parents and the poor training and teaching of the parent. So this is not a poor example of what the teacher's doing, because like, oh, the teacher isn't teaching the children right. I mean, we do have poor teachers, poor-minded teachers. We do have abusive teachers. Yes, we do. But some of this can be cut down, though, if we're not putting all the expectations on the teacher as if the teacher is the child's parent, but we place high expectations on our children by having high expectations on ourselves as parents to have enough discipline to teach our own children. So by the time they go to school, they get on the school bus, they're in the classroom, they're already showing what they know. They're already showing their abilities on being able to read and do arithmetic versus just sitting there and the teacher having to start off from square one because the child has never been taught or anything by the time they step in the classroom. They should already have at least 50% to 70, I would say at least 50 to 70% of the knowledge before they go in the classroom. So if they need some type of fine tuning or little areas, but being in the classroom for a child, being introduced to certain classroom material, it should not be their very first time seeing it, is what I'm getting at. It is not the teacher's job to teach the child to be civilized. Okay, it's not the teacher's job to teach a child civilized behavior. So spitting, kicking, bullying behavior, cursing, lunchroom fights and things of that nature. This is up to the parents to teach their children. Okay, and we can't get mad as Black people if they just want to slap your child on medication because they don't want to take the time to work with your child. You need to work with your child. Okay, it's time for us to take some responsibility. Okay, the schools are unsafe because the children are not safe at home. Some of these children, like I said, they act out what they see at home and they bring it to school. Okay, and they enact it out on other children. Okay, so they're a harm to themselves, some of the teachers, and other children. Instead of our children knowing the latest dances, reciting lyrics from a song that won't land them a job in the future, or instead of playing video games all day, okay, so instead of our children, knowing the latest rap, knowing how to drop it low. Some of these parents, they chime in and they'll dance with their kid and they'll say, "Go ahead and get it, shorty. Go ahead and get it." That's fine at a picnic, like I've said once before. That's fine at a picnic or when you're having leisurely fun. But for this just to be the day in and day out, you praising your child because they know some lyrics to a song that most likely isn't healthy for them anyway. It may not be healthy for you either, but definitely not healthy for the child. They know how to dance and shake, but when it comes to arithmetic, when it comes how to conjugate a verb, okay, when it comes to pronouns and nouns and proper sentence structure, they struggle with that. And I think it's a problem within our communities. I think some of us as a people, and definitely those that are parents, have their priorities messed up, and we need to, reprioritize what's best for our children instead of just pointing the finger all the time. If we want to be considered that we can stand on our own 2 feet as a people, we're going to have to take some responsibility for our own actions, our own children, our own communities. Okay. Parents must purchase mind stimulating games and activities to help develop the young mind. So there's nothing wrong with buying, PlayStations, Nintendo Switches, Xboxes, things of that nature. But children, um, especially when they're in those building block years, especially I would say maybe from the seventh, sixth grade on down, you know especially in the kindergarten, grades and stuff. They need, those games, those talking games, those card games, those little blocks, things like that, that's going to stimulate their minds, that's going to get them thinking, make them, and it gets them to thinking that learning is fun. Okay, so the multiplication, the division, the spelling, little leapfrog games, whatever you can get and spend time developing their brain and spend time doing it. And that's one thing, I talk a lot about families. I talk a lot because that is, the foundation of building successful Black people and children. Because one thing that's a problem is, a lot of these Black women, I've said it once before and I'll say it again, a lot of them are at work. They're at work 15 hours or so a day. And some of them may not want to be bothered with their children. So you have one or the other. Okay, so you have one that's extremely busy at work, trying to work her best, and then you have one where her mind is not conscious enough to understand that she needs to develop her own child. So the child, okay, is left with only school to educate them versus having a mother in the house, or a father or whoever's at work, a two-parent household where one can teach the child, so it takes hours a day. It takes at least 2 to 3 hours a day extra than them going to school. So you got your school hours, and then you need about 2 to 3 hours a day to be able to educate your child yourself. And if there's only one parent in the household, that becomes very hard because who, after a 12 to 15-hour shift, can really just sit up there and just teach every day like that, like the child really needs? So that's why the two-parent household is very critical in the Black household. And to continue, the parent must set the bar of high achievement at a young age. Okay, so once again, the parent must set the bar of high achievement at a young age to create a habit for the child to excel. Okay, so this can't just start in high school. This can't just start in middle school. When the child first, starts school, they must get in the habit of making good grades. If they miss something in school, going over their homework, seeing what they missed. Okay, so they don't have to be perfect, but you want to go over with your child what they missed, because that lets what areas they may be having problems in. Okay, so you want to go over those things, and it lets them know that you expect for them to make good grades and to understand the information. And it also sends a message to the teacher that your child is comprehending what they need to comprehend to go on to the next grade. Okay, it is time that we put down what we are doing as parents. Okay, so I know it gets hard, as a parent. We already feel like, a lot of our time is cut short, with work and, trying to get a little free time in ourselves. But we have to do some sacrificing here as parents to make sure our children are learning what they need to know to succeed. Okay, and that pretty much wraps up this segment. It's been a pleasure talking with you all. If you have any questions or suggestions, you can reach me at thetruthwithtrinity.com. You can also listen to my podcast on YouTube, Spotify, and Anchor. And always remember, if you can't tell the truth with anyone else, you can with Trinity. Till next time, take care.